I got it, Moon. I got your text from yesterday, John.
I said, yeah, Brandon, we tried to rally off guests. Brandon had some, on this particular station that we're on here, and of course we broadcast out of Lafayette, KPL, they got to record guests and everything that comes through for records. So Brandon was going, who we had on yesterday? So we were back and forth trying to think. Brandon wants me to go back yesterday. Brandon,
it's hard for me to go back yesterday,
I don't know the 3 guests we got on today. And you start talking about yesterday. I mean, that's kind of rough.
And who said we just have 3? We might have 5 or 6.
Could be 8. Who knows? The funny thing about it is I try to get people to call you for my guests.
That didn't work out too well.
Calling me is not a waste of time to get on.
Yeah. I found out through Twitter who one of our guests was today. Through Twitter.
Brandon sitting over and I said, you got Joe Cunningham on today? I said, yeah. He said, how you know that? He said, because he sits on the Twitter saying he's going to be on the program. He said, when you going to tell me that? I said, when he called.
Yeah. Man.
I told Brandon, you worry about that side, I worry about this side. Brandon goes, yeah, but I got to worry about your side too. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on. As we rock and roll. Dodie Horton, Representative Horton, would join us at 9:30. Joe Cunningham will visit with us at 10:30 about something totally different, but it does talk about Louisiana. Joe Cunningham with Red State. And so we've got that as the program unfolds today. Legislature, nutting up. We'll get to that in a minute. I never really knew that George Will was such an atheist as he takes shots at Billy Graham. Just these people who don't understand. They will one day. Just don't understand. And just taking shots at Billy Graham. By the way, Billy Graham never called himself a prophet. Anyway, I'll get to that later. Hopefully I'll get to that later in the program. May not, but just some of the stuff. All right, yesterday legislative session kind of broke down, rightfully so. I'm glad Republicans and Taylor Barra and them stood their ground against the Black Caucus. The Black Caucus is the biggest part of the Democrat Party. Governor Bell Edwards says one thing, and Brandon, I do need you to bring up what he said about the compressed brackets. Governor Bell Edwards is saying one thing, the Republicans are trying to do one thing, and the Black Caucus comes up with some crazy crap off the top of their head, trying to protect their constituents, and that's fine. That's what legislators do. But the Black Caucus is always so on the wrong side. I'm trying to figure something out here. Been following this I'm in my 25th year. I followed Edwin Edwards to Bell Edwards. I do not see anything different from any of the governors. I just don't. Oh, you might can name a piece of legislation here and there, but every one of these people were governors. They didn't fix one problem. Everything that we were having back in that day, since Edwin Edwards first came into today, and the only person that's been around since then has been John Alario and Francis DeFee Thompson. They're still leaders. They're still running the show, and nothing ever changes. They start talking about budgets and having good budgets. We've not had a good budget in all those years. I don't care what anybody says. Blanco had a surplus. Yes, when you had that much money pouring in from the federal government, you can have a surplus. So nothing's changed. And one of the constants in all this from Edwards to Edwards is that we only focus on how much money we can take out of the pockets of the citizens in the great state of Louisiana. That's it. And folks, so since we never address the problem, we never deal with a spending problem, and we never address spending. We never, ever address spending. We never ever address spending. We never address the business side. Since we never address the problem, we never fix the problem. Is that not amazing? We from Edwards to Edwards, one screw up after another. Somebody may have been nicer. Somebody may have changed a few little things on tort reform. But basically, from Edwards to Edwards, we're dealing with the same problems. Trust me, from a man who's watched it. We don't fix anything. We don't try to fix anything. You realize to fix something, you have to address the problem. We never address the spending side. We always address the revenue side. What we're seeing in Baton Rouge right now is people trying to address the revenue side. So nothing will ever be fixed. If you break your toe, putting a cast, trying to fix your right index finger is never going to fix the broken toe. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. You get hit in the head and you go to the doctor and say, doctor, my foot hurts. We never address the head injury. We don't address anything here. And we never, ever work on the real problems. We listen to people in the media. And I got to tell you, you Republicans out there, quit being scared of the media in this state. They're ignorant. They're not telling the truth. If you're scared of Jim Beam, what the heck are you scared of? Greg Hillman, for God's sakes. Fake right, go left, he'll fall down. Jim Beam's so out of it, he gets everything from Jay Darden. The Advocate really worries you? The Times-Picayune, these people that don't have a clue, that don't even know how to follow this stuff. They don't understand a budget. They don't understand history of the state. Why is the Republicans so scared of the press and trying to suck up to the press by coming up with some solution for the budget? You know, and they think they got to go raise taxes, and they don't. Nobody in this state wants to pay any more taxes. Nobody in the state can afford any more taxes. So why are you worrying about raising taxes? The constituents in the Republican Party don't want to raise taxes. Brandon, I don't know, Brandon, you do a talk show. You in here with me. I mean, you're on the air more than I am. How many people come up to you, hey, Brandon, help push for taxes? Hey, Brandon, will you please tell them to take some more property taxes? Hey, Brandon, increase the sales taxes. Hey, Brandon, would you please tell them to raise my income taxes because I'm making too much freaking money? Anybody telling you that, Brandon?
Not to my recollection.
Okay, because you're on the air a lot longer than me. You get 4, 5, 6 hours a day. People don't know that because they're not, and Lafayette people know that. So I'm just asking, Brandon, who's running the Republicans are saying, raise my taxes. Nobody. Nobody's saying that. The ignorance of the Black Caucus, they don't want their, quote, poor constituents, by the way, they're black and white that are poor, not to pay any more sales taxes, but they want everybody to pay more income taxes and some more sales taxes. So they're shutting stuff down. They're coming up with stuff like, let's compress the tax brackets. Well, they've been there for 8 days, and they bring this up yesterday. They didn't bring this up on the committee when this was held in the committee, and the governor's already said no. We're not going to compress the brackets. That's off the table. Brandon, do you have that piece? Get that piece for me if you don't mind, please. The governor told Lance Harris he does not want to compress the brackets. Then out of the blue yesterday, here comes the Black Caucus. Well, there's no white caucus, by the way. Just curious. The Black Caucus comes up with all its power in the Democrat Party, the people that Bell Edwards is beholden to, for all you, quote, whites that want to vote Democrat. The Black Caucus is so liberal they've fallen off the cliff, they so far to the left. And they are. It's unfortunate. A lot of the people are not. So the Black Caucus comes up, and so Barat goes to the floor yesterday, and he basically tells the truth. Said the budget bill has been held up by John Bell Edwards. Where's Bell Edwards in all this? Bell Edwards is nowhere to be found, and he called the special session. He called the special session. Now, so the Democrats, the Black Caucus, comes up out of the blue. We ain't raising sales taxes. It's funny Republicans are even pushing the sales tax. Republicans pushing taxes. We didn't fall off the cliff. That's why I'm not a Republican. But anyway, they're pushing sales taxes of a quarter cent, which, by the way, is a tax increase, Brandon. No matter however you look at it, it's a tax increase. So the Black Caucus, we're not doing that unless y'all compress the tax brackets. And what that means is higher income taxes on people who pay income taxes, which is about 45% of taxpayers, only about 20% of tax filers. So they act like this 25% is a piece of trash and a bunch of chumps. But they're the ones pulling the wagon in the state, folks. They're the business owners. They're the private sector people. They're people thriving to be the best they can be. So the Black Caucus comes up this. Well, where's Bell Edwards on this? Here's Lance Harris talking to the governor about the tax brackets, and the governor will answer the question that we all know. He said this is off the table, but why did the Black Caucus, which is the heart and soul of the Democrat Party, why did they bring this up to shut everything down yesterday? Here we go.
So that's the first I've heard that, but I appreciate that we're, in other words, the document that you released 2 weeks ago had the compression in it, so that's not something to be considered now.
Well, it's not something that we need to do.
So that is. The governor said on the tax compression of the brackets, it's something we don't, let me repeat, Brandon, we're going to play it again. We don't need to do. This is Lance Harris asking the governor about the income tax. And all of a sudden yesterday, here comes Ed James Mr. Brainiac of the Black Caucus, we ain't raising sales taxes unless we get income taxes. And you got the governor, who's the head of the state, head of the Democrat Party, saying we're not doing this. This is Lance Harris talking first, and then the governor. Listen real quickly.
So that's the first I've heard that, but I appreciate that we're, in other words, the document that you released 2 weeks ago had the compression in it, so that's not something to be considered now.
Well, it's not something that we need to do.
So we got a governor who called a special session who says no tax compression. They went through the committee meeting that got some of these tax votes out on the floor. Ted James and the gang of the Black Caucus didn't say a word. And then yesterday, bombshell, we want the tax brackets compressed, or we're not voting for the quarter-cent sales tax, which I think we ought to pull that off the table anyway. Where's the governor? Hello, Governor. Governor Edwards, we're calling you. You called a special session. Where are you, Gov? Tell you where you're at, Gov. You're sitting on the sideline. If I was the Republicans, I would tell them, go take a flying hike. We'll just finish this session today, go through the regular session, and call a special session after. That's what they ought to do. They ought to try it. You're going to get blamed everything, and that's why the Republicans got to quit being worried about the press. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program. Yeah, it's time for the Republicans to trying to quit being nice, trying to quit get along by giving them some taxes. Quarter-cent sales tax, the more I think about it, is a tax increase because the money's coming off. Some people are trying to sell it, and I bought into it too, that we're going to lower it a quarter cent, which will come down from a penny, but you're trying to be nice to the devil, and it's not going to work. You got to understand something. The mainstream media is like the Washington media. They've come down here. They've intruded. They work through Jim Beam. They work through Greg Hilburn. They work through Stephanie Grace and Tyler Bridges and the Advocate and Times-Picayune, the Gannett papers. They work through them, and they pick sides. They love Bell Edwards. They don't care what that Bell Edwards voted for all these bad budgets. There was an editorial today in the Times-Picayune that once again, and I'll get to that once again blamed Bobby Jindal for the bad budgets. Now, by the way, Brandon, that's fine. Bobby Jindal was a big part of the bad budgets. But what they don't tell you is so was Bell Edwards, and so was John Alario. Hey, this temporary budget fix is a legislative malpractice. 2 years later, Louisiana residents are still waiting for a long-term budget solution. No, that's not true. And we've been waiting for a long-term budget solution since I've been on the air for 25 years from Edwards to Edwards. Okay? Louisiana residents are still waiting. I'm not waiting for it. We're never going to fix it because we never address spending. We never address the things we need to get rid of. We only address that we need more revenue. That's why people are migrating. That's why businesses are leaving here. Folks, I say it 1,000 times. I want you to know, don't blame House Republicans for this because people in the papers do. Okay? From Edwards to Edwards. This is it. Former Governor Bobby Jindal and the legislature created a budget mess when they reversed the income tax reforms, refused to replace the revenue with other tax. They're talking about Stelly. Okay? Stelly was not a tax reform. If Vic Stelly calls in, Brandon, please put him on there. It was a tax swap. It was a swap of a temporary tax to a permanent tax, a temporary sales tax to a permanent income tax, and getting rid of the deductions. It was a swap. It was not reform. The fools can call it reform all they want to, but it was never reform. I'm not calling Stelly. In Vic's case, I think Vic thought he was doing what was right, but it did not help. And it was not going to help because we don't change the way we spend here. We never have, we never will. So they blame Bobby Jindal, and Bell Edwards voted for 6 of the 8 budgets. John Alario, the biggest player down there, voted for 8 of them. And yet we're talking about the same stupid things we talked about then. Why? They've been talking about Stelly since 2000 when it failed, 2002 when it passed. I was here, I know. I'm just telling you, folks, nothing's changed because we don't change our spending habits. It won't change. Have we fixed unaccrued liability? No. Have we fixed our roads? No. Do we have less poverty? No. We don't have less poor people? No. Have we fixed our healthcare system? No. I mean, do we fund higher ed properly? No. You know why we're not going to fund higher ed properly? We got too many. It's impossible to fund our higher ed properly. It's totally impossible with the economy we have. We stopped our migration. When did we stop that, folks? We stopped businesses leaving here? We stopped the lawsuits on oil and gas companies like they did in Texas? Nope. So how do you expect to fix anything? We're fixing things just like we always have fixed them. We're raising money off the backs of the business people and the people that are pulling the weight. They spent every dollar out of every state trust fund they could get their hands on and made repeated cuts to higher education and health care to balance the budget. The irresponsibility had created It led a $2 billion deficit by 2016 when Bill Edwards took office. Bill Edwards is part of that problem. Bill Edwards is not in the governor's mansion to fix one dang thing. Bill Edwards is in the governor because what happened with Vito, with Jay Darden, the knifing and telling people how bad he was. And then number two, now that he's in there, his goal is not to fix anything, folks. His goal is to find out how much money can he get from us to keep doing the same thing they've always done. Look at what they're doing. I'm covering the same thing 25 years later. They're big government people. They have no intention of changing anything. All they want to do is get Republicans to feel guilty so Republicans will vote for more taxes so the government can keep doing what they've always done. Take a break. We'll be back, folks. I'm right. I'll stick with it because I am. Hey, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it. Hotline if you'd like to be part of the Moon Griffon Show. Let's jump gears and go up to Northwest Louisiana. Representative Dodie Horton joins us. Representative Horton, how you doing?
Doing great, sir. Thank you for allowing me to be on today. It's the first time ever, and it's an honor.
Well, I appreciate you being part of the program. Now, you've been down there fighting the fight, and you're watching all this stuff go on, and I'm kind of flabbergasted, first of all, that the Black Caucus would bring up something like tax compressions, where they want to compress the tables to raise higher income taxes on us, and they don't bring it. Nobody brings this up when they're in the committee, and all of a sudden, after 8 days in the session, they just throw this out there, and then now we got a stalling going on in the process.
Well, you know, Moon, after listening to the governor speak many times, and then Robert Adley, his mouthpiece, continuously talking about compressing the brackets that would put the major burden on the middle class, like the full Stelly did years ago, it was no surprise to me, and that's why I tried to tell people don't let bills out to where an amendment like compression of brackets would be germane. And there's some that don't feel we did, but trust me, the Black Caucus is carrying the governor's water. There's no dissension there. I don't want anybody to buy into that.
Well, no, I agree with you. It looks like the governor standing on the sideline. He didn't know nothing about it. And by the way, we played a clip where he told Lance Harris, Representative Harris, that taking those brackets and doing that is off the thing. No way we should do that. No, that's not even on the table. Then the Black Caucus throws this up there, and I don't care what anybody says. The Black Caucus is the heart and soul of the Democrat Party. It's the heart and soul of Bill Edwards. So if it's the heart and soul of Bill Edwards knows about this, and I think you're right on the money.
I went around and explained, after lost the battle and these bills got out of committee, my objective then is just to warn Republicans that I know do not want to vote to have the brackets compressed. And some looked at me like, well, that's off the table. They don't have an instrument. I said, well, I know that Butch Spears, our clerk's the one who makes that decision. And they would not be fighting if they didn't have the instrument. They do have it. And so then when it all blew up and we went into our delegation meeting and Lance Harris told everyone what they wanted, I could not help but say, I told you so. Because this is the plan all along. And so it's not going to happen. I don't believe that they had the votes to get it out of the House. there's a lot of white Democrats, if you don't mind me saying that, that will not vote for that. You know, when Ted James got up and spoke about he's fighting for his people, saying we were trying to balance the budget on the backs of the poor and working poor. I don't know how you can balance a budget on the backs of the poor and working poor, but what he meant was that sales tax, of course, is a flat tax that everybody has to pay, and
sure.
and they don't want their people doing it any longer. So, therefore, let's put the burden back on the workforce that is solid. It's been the most solid and consistent taxpayers in the United States. Let's just give it back to them now, instead of living within our means. I mean, I'm floored. I'm sorry. It just
No, I'm glad you're saying what you're saying, because I think, from what I know of you, you're quite honest. You're just being honest of what's going on. You're making an honest assessment. I'd be honest with you. I wouldn't propose, and it disappointed me that some Republicans have proposed raising any sales taxes. I just think it's time to get right. You know, I just did a little, I don't know if you listened to me today, but I did a little monologue. I've been watching this from Edwin Edwards to Bill Edwards. Mm-hmm. And I've seen them talk about reform the whole way through and never done it. And I've seen them raise taxes, mega taxes, billions of dollars in taxes. Nothing ever got fixed. The one thing they've done is raise taxes, and address the revenue side. The only thing we hadn't done in the 25 years I've been here is address the spending side. Not one time. And nobody in the press talks about the spending. They never address it. No governor. And that's why I said from Edwards to Edwards, they all failed in trying to revamp things in the state of Louisiana. And they all failed horribly. And this governor's absolutely doing the same thing. He's not there. Well, I know how he got there. But now that he's there, he's there to make sure we keep doing everything like we've always done it. Keep taking money from businesses. Keep taking money from people. And that's all he's trying to do. And then say, look at me, I'm a good governor. I balance the budget.
That's correct. And that's why I tell people, look, I'm not talking about my governor. I'm talking about there's not any governor that has not reformed our tax structure. And North Carolina, to me, is a perfect model of how you get it done. And the speaker had sent me up there to a NCSL meeting, and that's what we focused on it. And they have a large Medicaid population, not as large as we do, but everything they did worked. And whenever you talk about reform, developing a low-fare flat tax, and they always use Kansas. But when you do that, when you develop a low-fare flat tax, you cut all exemptions because they're no longer needed.
Yep.
And you give the municipalities the ability to govern themselves. You have to cut the budget according to the money you're not going to take in when you first put in that to play. Kansas didn't do it. We didn't do it and thank God, because of the public outcry was so great. Governor Jindal signed the bill to rescind the Stelly brackets, but we didn't cut the budget, the $800 million that those brackets brought in.
Yeah.
And so, but needing anyway, I'm going to hope that we can get the people, the architects of the package in North Carolina that's been so successful. They've had a huge surplus 3 years in a row, and even shrunk the brackets more and gave people more money back because it works. And Louisiana, for me to ask any taxpayer to give me more money to throw after bad policy, after failed programs, is ludicrous to me. It doesn't equate in my mind.
By the way, Representative Dodie Horton out of the Northwest Louisiana delegation talking about what's going on in the legislature. Hey, Dodie, would you have a problem with nothing getting done this session? Go to the regular session, allow the Revenue Estimating Conference to come back and tell you how much money you got, and then have a special section to, quote, fix something? Because what worries me, I don't want the leadership of the Republican Party to keep talking about raising taxes. And then they're trying to figure out what tax to raise and who's going to be mad, who's not. I just don't think they need a bunch more money. When we raised that sales tax, and I don't know how you voted, okay?
I didn't support it. I did not.
Well, thank you for supporting it. Well, I try to explain to people, when you raise a 1 cent sales tax, and it was temporary, I had a lawmaker come in here. He was a freshman lawmaker. He didn't know sheep from wild honey, but he thought he did because he was a lawyer. And so raising taxes, y'all, come in here and explain to me that we got them now. And I said, and I leaned back and I'm thinking, oh, Lord, I'm dealing with another brainiac. And I looked over and I said, no. You don't have them. They got you. By giving them the 1 cent sales tax and the billions of dollars in taxes, now they're temporary. They're gonna come back and say we gotta have them. We gotta have these taxes now. I mean, y'all said we can have it, and I told a brainiac that raising taxes, y'all, and he did not understand it, but he's smarter than me. He already knew more than me about going in one, and I've been following this for 25 years.
Yeah, and see,
thank you for not voting for the sales tax, because we're in this problem because of the temporary sales tax they voted on.
Since the governor's been in office, the general budget has been raised by $1 billion, and still don't have the money to fund TOPS. Well, TOPS has got to be reformed in order for it to be sustainable. I mean, we are not
let me tell you something, though,
of the United States, like we appear to be.
Representative Hart, let me tell you something. The TOPS is another thing they were able to grab by the governor, bring it in here and say, okay, you Republicans, you people that represent real America, real people that go to work every day, I'm going to jack with your people. And that's why everybody freaks out. Now, I'll be honest with you. I had two that went through school, okay, and they both had TOPS. But if I was in school today and they took away TOPS, I'd tell them to hell with them, take it away. I'm not giving in to the blackmail of the governor. Governor Bell Edwards is blackmailing the state with TOPS. It's like they do. They grab the people on dialysis machines.
That's right.
They grab the old people. They grab the poor people. They grab the people on state medicine. They grab all those because they can play on emotion. So they grab the people with TOPS.
Absolutely. And our district totally supports TOPS. Of course, it's one of the only things that the middle class children can earn and take advantage of. But I can tell you, they stopped short of wanting me to raise taxes to keep it.
Well, let me just tell you this. Let me tell you this. If TOPS was to get hurt, every person on TOPS should blame John Bell Edwards and Governor Dodie. They're the ones that brought this up, not y'all. Let me take a break. We've got Representative Dodie Horton. Can you hold one more segment?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hold on. We're talking to her. We'll be right back. I wonder if anybody knew who I was talking to. I met with. I hope I didn't give a hint big enough that somebody could actually realize who I was talking about. But anyway, take a break. Be right back.
Moon, you call that dancing?
Brent, no.
I don't know what that is.
No. That's called Terrific Tuesday Jamming. Brandon looked up and asked me, "You so happy? Is it Friday?"
You happy because it's not Monday?
I'm happy because my hair is nappy. All right, how about that? Right. I do have nappy hair. Anyway, how y'all are? Welcome back to Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. You know, always having fun, the laugh and talk show host. We enjoy ourselves, and I hope you do too. All right, Representative Dodie Horton, my special guest, Northwest Louisiana. Is this your first term too, Dodie?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for not voting for the sales tax. At least somebody I know in their first time voted right. Hey, and I got to tell you, and I said this earlier in the program, I want to get your comments on it. I've been following this from Edwin Edwards to Bell Edwards. I can go back when Edwards first got here, the first time he ever ran and won, to Bell Edwards. And the only thing that we've ever addressed from 70, when did Edwards go in? 72, 74, something like that. The only thing we've ever addressed is revenue. We've been addressing revenue for 44 years. That's all we've ever addressed is revenue. By the way, in that process, we've grown government, we've grown programs, we've added university, we added a community college system, which, by the way, I was all for. We added. And the same problems that existed then exist now. Our migration, not enough jobs, poor schools, poor roads. I can go on and on. So why are we still addressing the revenue side? The governor is addressing the revenue side. I'm sorry, the governor's addressing the revenue side, because he's going to be as failed as everybody else. He's not going to be successful because we're not changing up everything. And I understand, Representative Dodie, that, y'all got to get hit by the press. But I wouldn't worry about getting hit by the leftist media. I really wouldn't. I would do what was right and try to change the state. Just your comments on what I said.
I am exactly you're exactly correct, because I don't care about I expect the left and liberal media to beat me up or whatever. I'm here to represent the hardworking people of District 9, and by doing that, I feel all hardworking citizens of Louisiana benefit, because I know that, like our service delivery model, Department of Health, a $15+ billion a year budget, I can't wrap my head around it. $15 billion a year budget, and we have the worst outcome in the nation. We have a 13-year waiting list for our disabled, and it's because we have not changed our service delivery model since it was developed in the 1930s.
Yep.
And we just keep pouring more and more and more money in failing programs where we need to go in. We need to see what programs work and what don't. We need to adopt best practices and serve our people effectively, efficiently, and use every dime to the benefit of our mentally challenged, our disabled, our at-risk youth, and our behavioral problems, and we would never have a 13-year waiting list. And so that's what I have a meeting today with staff. I asked someone from the governor's office to attend. I have a person who recently retired from the Department of Health who's an expert. So we're going to sit it down and see if we can come up with legislation to force them to do that. And that right there, to me, is true reform and serving the people and using every dollar wisely. Now, when it comes to the revenue side, I'm not going to be held hostage by any program, because I am so tired of them not addressing the real fiscal problem, like you said. That we can prioritize our budget right now. Now, we did try to pass a standstill budget.
Yeah, you did. By the way, I commend y'all. That's the budget we should have went with. We went 10 straight years with the Senate budget, and it's been a failure. Yet the press keeps talking bad about you House Republicans who are the ones being tough.
It blows my mind because I don't care who the governor is. You got to live within your means, and it's not. I'm tired of hearing people say, "Oh, Dodie, you just don't want to make the governor look good." I need him to. I don't need smoke and mirrors. I need whoever the governor is to be successful. That means we are, but it's not by getting more and more money and feeding this beast that needs to be decapitated. Okay. I just will not take part of that.
Okay, this just came out.
I'm sorry, I get it.
I'm glad you get excited because we need some more passion down there. Louisiana, Elizabeth Criff just broke. Louisiana comes in dead last again in the latest best state rankings. Last. Okay, here's what some of the rankings were based off of. Hold up just a second, my computer's nutting up. All right. Louisiana received low marks across individual rankings on crime and corrections. 48th, by the way, crime and corrections. We've not done anything to fix that. Economy, we're 44th. We're 44th in economy. And I'm telling you, we're always at the bottom. And that needs to be changed, but we don't make laws where businesses and people can prosper. You talked about it with the North Carolina model. And we need to find. Here we go. Education, 49th. All of these rankings, Edwards to Edwards, we've stayed right there. Fiscal stability, health care, infrastructure, opportunity, 50th, and quality of life, 42nd. Now, I got to tell you, I've been seeing these numbers like this the whole 25 years I've been running. And I am so sick and tired of somebody telling me that we raise taxes on the middle class, and we raise taxes on the working class, and we raise taxes on businesses, and we're going to see prosperity because they follow you know what.
You're exactly correct, because you can't tax your way out of it. It's like I said after Walt Leger had quoted Winston Churchill and about, if we have to keep trying. I can't remember what the quote it was, but I was glad because Winston Churchill said trying to balance the budget on the backs of the taxpayer is like a man sitting inside of a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle. It cannot be done. But how much more proof do we need than what you just read?
I got these rankings from Edwin Edwards to Bell Edwards. And I'm talking about when Edwards first came in, and we had Treen, and we had Romer, and we had Mike Foster, and we had Blanco, and we had Bobby Jindal, and we got Bell Edwards. They've never changed anything. Every answer to them, every answer to the question of what do we do is more revenue, and we have not fixed it. And yet they turn around and blame a handful of Republicans like yourself as being the problem. And they really believe stabilizing our government's budget is more important than stabilizing a budget at home or business growing. And it's not. It really
No, it's not. Well, that's why, I was having a conversation with I said, someone, we're a republic. Why do you think our forefathers designed our government to be a republic? So people would have the freedom to live, to work, and without government being so large. We've taken the place of the faith-based community. We cannot take care of every ill that someone has. That's not the role of government. And of course we need to take care of our most needy and vulnerable citizens. But I'm saying it's so far out of hand. And even, the Black Caucus said they support all these reforms. Well, their actions proved different, and were different in the Health and Welfare Committee yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I can assure you. I was accused of wanting, because I support Tony Bacala's bill about fighting fraud in the Medicaid system, which he clearly proved it's rampant. I was accused of trying to hurt the poor people. And I asked this person, why do you feel it's the poor people that's defrauding the system? Why do you think that it's the poor doing this? Why can't it be someone that makes $300,000 a year?
I got to go, but I did want to get something in. We probably won't get in there because I got to go. What Robert Alley did when he was behind you the other day in the meeting. But anyway, I got to go. Representative Dodie, God bless. Thank you here.
God bless. Thank you.
All righty. We got to take a break. Be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. I don't know if to be thankful we don't play what's off the air or wish it was on there.
Be thankful for that. Be thankful for that, Moon.
Hey, Brandon, you're killing me, man.
I'm just being honest. Not being ugly and being honest.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Anyway, 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. Let's jump gears. We go to Mr. Fred Campbell. He's former FCC Wireless Bureau Chief and Director of Tech Knowledge. Mr. Fred, how you doing?
I'm great. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Man, no problem at all. Sorry we had to push you back from a deal when I was out of town. All right, tell us a little bit about the company first and who you are, and then we'll get to net neutrality.
Yeah, Technology is a think tank, and I focus on FCC policy and communications policy primarily. I guess that stands to reason, given my background.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us what's going on. What do you want people to know about what we're debating? Because and some people go, what is this? What are we talking about? So let's start there.
So net neutrality is the idea or principle that internet companies or internet service providers shouldn't unreasonably discriminate against particular sources or types of content on the internet. That's the basic idea.
Okay. So
what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. So what's being done now, and what would you like to see done, or what is being done now? Would you like for it to stay like it is?
Well, I'd like for it to stay like it is now, which is the way it traditionally was until a few years ago. And what's that? Is that everyone agrees that companies shouldn't unreasonably interfere with content. In fact, when I worked at the FCC, the chairman then adopted and the agency issued principles stating that fact and said it would enforce violations on a case-by-case basis like the FTC does for other types of consumer problems like, online privacy and fraud and the like. So that worked pretty well, but it got overturned by a court. The debate came back up, and then the FCC said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to adopt a whole series of really specific rules about this and actually treat these internet service providers like they're public utilities. And those rules are what the now FCC overturned, which I think is the good thing.
Okay.
What the now FCC said was, let's go back to doing this on a case-by-case basis, but we're going to have the FTC do it because then the same rules will apply to all internet companies, internet service providers, and also companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Google, which the previous FCC rules did not apply to. Why is this? So if I'm, if things are going the way I would like, what should people know? Well, so you'll see these claims all over the internet, tech news sites and the like, that what the FCC did by going back to, enforcing these principles equally on everybody, is ruining the Internet and going to destroy everything. And what they want the Senate and Congress to do is overturn the current FCC's ruling and reinstate hard and fast rules that only apply to one little part of the Internet ecosystem and not everybody else.
So let me ask this question. How would this affect the average consumer? Because when you get down to it, we're the ones that will be affected positively in a positive way or a negative way. How does it affect the average consumer?
That's a great question.
That's why I ask it.
Yeah. You are a smart man, Mr. Booth.
Hey, don't say that on my audience. They may not like that you said that. But anyway, I'm joking with you, Mr. Fred. No, seriously, how does it affect us? Because that's what somebody listening to this going, I may not get a grip of what he's talking about, so how does it affect me? And that's what everybody wants to know. How does it affect them?
Well, so the next generation of wireless technology is right around the corner, and every country around the world wants to be the first to deploy it. It's going to increase speeds by up to 10 times, up to 100 times, depending on the company you believe. It's going to make mobile video a reality and driverless cars and all those great future tech things that we're all thinking about.
Sure.
But the problem is it's going to take many, many billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to get these systems deployed. Mm-hmm. And if we go back to the hard and fast rules, they remove the incentive of companies to deploy those networks. So how it's going to affect the ordinary consumers, if we go down the path this FCC has charted and say we're going to address these issues, but we're going to do them at the FTC, those companies will have the incentive to put hundreds of billions of dollars into the next generation of the Internet, which consumers will love. Mm-hmm. But if they're treated like public utilities, which, limits the potentially subjects them to rate limits and all that.
Sure.
They won't have those incentives. And even if, that makes the Internet cheaper, for example, which is one of the claims, they'll have cheaper access to something that's not as good. So that's how it affects.
That sounds like government work. What does it do for as, and I'm going to take it what you're against, and I'm going to take it is that you're for competition, and what they're getting ready to do or what they're doing is basically taking competition out of it.
Well,
am I asking that question correct?
Well, yeah, depending on,
I'm a competition guy. I believe you put competition, it puts the markets out there competing against each other, and that's the best for the consumers. That's what kind of why I put that the way I put it. Is this thing that you want to happen better for competitors where people can all compete and everybody will have a fair shake at it?
100% yes. Okay. Yes, it is 100% pro-competition. And here's and I wasn't exactly sure which side you were talking about.
No. I'm a free enterprise pro-competition. I think competition is an awesome thing, and I think normally if you put competition in something, it's better for the consumer because the consumer can go where they want to go to get what they want. Somebody might want to pay a little bit more for a company because they think they're better. Somebody else may say they may just be looking at strictly price. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I meant by competition.
Absolutely. That enhances consumer choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%
I agree with
sure.
That. Yep.
And now, to put a finer point on it, most of the advocates for really harsh public utility treatment, I call it harsh, of these companies, they would be okay with a monopoly provider so long as the monopoly provider is subject to regulation. So it's really about two competing models. Which do you prefer? Do you want competitors out there striving to offer consumers different products at different price points with different options, or do you think we're better off with, you end up ultimately with one provider, maybe two, but probably one in the long run, that's subject to government regulation, which is, we had that once with the monopoly telephone network. The Internet's been about competition. And the question is, do we want it to keep being oriented towards competition or go back the other way?
Sure. What can people do? Because I know that you must want or need people to get involved. What do you need people can do? Our audience, what do you need them to do?
They should chime in. The FCC has an email address you can send emails to, and they have a comment process to comment to them. But that's really not most of the action. Mostly it's with your representatives in Congress, your senators or your congressional representative. Email them, write them, call them, and let them know you're fine with the current FCC approach.
Okay. So that's the big thing that they need to do. How did they get in touch with you or your organization?
My website is at techknowledge, all one word.
Yes, sir.
.center.
Techknowledge.center.
Yeah, center instead of com.
Okay. Mr. Fred Campbell, Techknowledge, and y'all want to get in touch with him, this is an opportunity to get involved, and I'm sure y'all will let people know what they can do to make sure this thing is done right.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Campbell, God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty, let's take a break. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. When we get back, a new report out there again. Wow. Dead last is one of the best state rankings. Why? What I've been saying on this radio for 25 years. We don't change anything. We keep doing the same thing. And Bill Edwards, Governor Dodie are doing the same thing everybody else did. That's why we're not going to get different results. We'll be right back. We'll take a break. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Is the number if you'd like to be part of the program. Yes. Yesterday, Taylor Barra goes to the House floor and asks, where's the leadership of the governor? I think the governor's team is a little bit more clear on what direction they're choosing to take. He took to the floor over a microphone live internet stream that he thought the budget deal has been held up by Governor Edwards, a Democrat. Said the governor had not done enough to get the Black Caucus, which they all won, made up entirely of Democrats, on board with supporting the main two tax bills needed for the whole compromise to work. Remember, the governor's on record that he would support a half-cent sales tax. Barra said the Black Caucus had not issued such an ultimatum on income tax before Monday morning, 8 days into the session. Speaker thought the Black Caucus members would focus more on reducing an income tax deduction, not raising income taxes directly. Barra blamed the governor for his miscommunication. Edwards had indicated in January when he presented his spending plan to the Legislative Joint Budget Committee that he was taking income tax hikes off the table. Now, we played that for y'all. But here's the Black Caucus. Oh, no, we want them. So, anyway, it's, by the way, and this is what I like the most. You ever notice the left, how they always offended? Folks, I'm going to tell you what, I'm 56 years old. I've been offended by very little. Maybe because I ain't bright enough to be offended. I'll take that. Barra's comments on Monday offended several members of the Black Caucus. Oh, my God. They're offended. Who said it's a lack of communication with House leadership, not the governor, that's causing tax negotiations to blow up. They said the House leaders made up of Republicans haven't been talking to the Black Caucus, which is in consideration, though they need it's supposed to support it. With this body, we have a leadership issue. Until we address that, we'll continue to have problems. Ted James wouldn't know what leadership was if it slapped him. He wouldn't know. He voted for Barack Obama. Case in point, he's voted probably for Edwin Edwards. He voted for Bill Edwards. Case in point, he doesn't know what leadership is. Anyway, best states would come in last. And this is making my point. I'm not leaving. I'm ready for the fight. Louisiana received low marks, crime and corrections with 48th. I've been hearing them talk about crime and corrections since Edwin Edwards to Bill Edwards, 48th. Economy, 44th. I hope we that high. I've been listening to people complain about the economy here since Edwin Edwards been in office to Bill Edwards. Education, 49th. We're never getting off that stool. Don't y'all think by now, I'm 56 years old, I've been hearing about this. Fiscal stability. How can you have fiscal stability when you don't correct anything? Healthcare. We've always been at the bottom because we had a 30s model. Infrastructure, that's roads. We don't put money on roads. We pass a road tax for the time program. We don't fix the roads. We don't fix all the roads. We can't maintain the roads. And they want more money to fix the roads. What? They want more money to fix education. They want more money to fix crime and correction. They want more money to fix the economy. They want more money for health care. We're 50th in opportunity. Now think about opportunity. 50th. That leads to out-migration. Opportunity to go get jobs, to be the best you can be, are not here. It ought to be here. and the quality of life with 42nd, so it leaves us dead last in the best states ranking. Folks, this goes out all over the country. Val Edwards and Jay Darden, the co-governorship, has done nothing to change this. All they want, and the Ted James and the Black Caucus and the Democrats and the left and some of these sick Republicans, all they want to do is raise taxes so they can make it to the next re-election. And then when they all get elected, we do the same thing. Why do you think John Hilario's still running the show? Don't y'all think that's a problem, too? He's been running the show for 46 years. When he's finished for 40, this is his 47th year running the show. And nothing gets fixed, and nothing changes, and you got people bragging about John Hilario, the Michael Jordan of the legislature, the magician. They're growing up in the room. People in lobby, all these business people, John Hilario, been running the show, and nothing got fixed? Don't y'all think the people running the show maybe need to go home? Francis Thompson's been there 42 years. He hasn't fixed anything, but he's made himself and his family members wealthier. But boy, you gotta like Francis. I've heard people tell me that, Brandon. I promise you. Man, y'all can not like a man like Francis Thompson. Hey, if you like him so much, why don't you vote him out and let him stay home with you? He's a problem. Big Lake Fannin. Ridiculous that people put him back in there. I know. Moon's hard on these people. No, I'll be honest with you, I ain't hard enough. Y'all not hard on them at all. These people are hurt this state. And we keep putting them back in the same places expecting different outcomes. That's called insanity. Do the same thing over and over again expecting different results. Brandon, I want you to try it. Would you do a test for me? Just for the next 10 days. I want you to get up in the morning, put your stove on and put your hand on it and see if it's hot. I want you to do that for 10 days.
You don't give me hazard pay?
No, I want you to do that for 10 days and tell me what's different about the first one to the 10th one. And when you come back and tell me you're crazy, you don't have to, because you're not going to do that. Because you're going to get the same results every day. Your finger's going to burn. That's what we do in the legislature. From Edwards to Edwards. I don't think we ought to pay any more taxes. We're done paying taxes. We ought to fix what's broken. You can't fix the problem if you don't deal with the problem. The problem is spending. I don't care what Jim Beam writes. Jim Beam doesn't have a clue anymore. Greg Hilbert don't even know what state he's in. The Gannett newspaper is the dumbest thing they ever invented. The Advocate is so liberal now, it's not even funny. The Times-Picayune, they just write crap and throw it out there. I know. You think you know everything, Griffon. No. It's what they don't know and what they're not telling you that's hurting us. Folks, I watched this. I've been doing it for 25 years. I've not seen anything change. Let's vote for the Republican. Let's vote for the Democrat. Let's vote for the right-winger. Let's vote for the left-winger. Let's vote for the moderate. Let's vote for the rich dude. Let's vote for him because they're a woman. Let's vote for him because he's Harvard graduate. And what happens? Nothing. Because we don't deal with the problems. So when they do the best rankings, and this goes out to every state, and we at the bottom, it's because we've not tried to change anything. Why don't we try pro-business approach? Less taxes, less government, cut some out. Why don't we try that approach and see if we could have some different success? I think we would. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Joe Cunningham, Red State. I think it's redstate.com, and I know he writes with the Hayride. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it is Red State.
Yeah, you know, I guess all the time. I don't ever read stuff. Anyway, good to hear from you, man. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing pretty good. How y'all doing over there?
Man, we're doing pretty good. Brandon's trying to keep me straight. And
it's no easy task, by the way.
By the way, good luck with that.
Yeah.
All righty. Great article. What Georgia can teach Louisiana about cronyism for business like Delta, which, by the way, used to be located here. All right. Tell us what you wrote. I mean, this is really an interesting article.
Georgia's lieutenant governor, who's running for governor, Casey Cagle, said he would not support any budget or any tax package that would give a tax break to Delta in response to how they targeted RA members. And it kind of got me thinking, and you've covered this a lot, Moon, how many different companies have we thrown our tax money at to try to get them to come to Louisiana?
Because we don't have a friendly business climate, every one of them.
Exactly. And you think about it, how much money do we throw at Amazon? These are companies that they do lean to the left in terms of the public policies that they take. And, Delta and Delta supporters are all kind of offended that Cagle would go after Delta for expressing its speech. Well, Delta has gotten involved in politics before. They put a lot of pressure on the Georgia legislature a couple of years ago to stop them from supporting any sort of religious liberty bill. So, if Delta wants to play politics, fine, great. That's what Citizens United was about. Let a corporation have its own free speech. But if they're going to get political, they better be able to deal with the ramifications. And it looks like they weren't ready for some states to fight back, especially a good, deep red state like Georgia.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to kind of get this put back. And there is talk even from some conservatives who say, government should be wielding tax dollars to try to force companies to change their policy. But if the companies are going to play politics and the companies aren't going to represent your states and your constituencies' values, I don't really see that much of a problem with it. And in Louisiana, if we're not going to take the time to actually reform our business climate to where we don't have to throw money at these businesses anymore, then that's all. We don't deserve any of those businesses. Look at Texas. Texas doesn't do anything special other than lower taxes, create a good business environment, and they're thriving, whereas we're right next door. We refuse to change. You've talked about it so many times before. You were talking about it earlier. We haven't done anything to change the overall cultural business climate.
Joe, that's what I was saying. I've been following from Edwards to Edwards. And I've been following for a long time. And I've heard every Republican, Democrat, governor come through. We're going to change this. And I've seen the legislature go to Republicans, but I've seen Democrats like John Alario and Big Lake Fannin and people like that who are hard-nosed, liberal, leftist Democrats. Okay? John Alario is an Edwin Edwards Democrat. Liberal, leftist, deal maker, more like a mafia type than some kind of leader. And they're still there running the show, and we still have the same problems. We just came out of the worst on the best list again. And that's been going on from Edwards to Edwards. So I'm right by saying we haven't fixed anything. It's why we hadn't moved at all. We hadn't adjusted. And if you look at just the business climate, we've never said, okay, guys, all this hand-me-outs are over. We're going to lower the business taxes to where they're very fair, the best in the country. And that means maybe getting rid of all business taxes in some instance. And then we're going to let the people here prosper and grow their own businesses. And when a company comes in and look at Louisiana, they want to know about the workforce and they want to know about the school system. But when they come in this state and they want to know about the workforce and the school system, we can't brag about the workforce and the school system. So we got to change that. And the way you change is to make this state a friendly business state and quit worrying about how much money goes into state government. As long as we've worried about that, we failed. So we're failing again. And I'm telling you, Bill Edwards is already a failure after 2 years. He's doing the same thing everybody else did. Bill Edwards and Jay Daughter are just happy to be there, and they want to keep everything going the exact same way. Well, that's when you let Senate President John Alario take over. That's what happens. Just think if Walt Leger was the Speaker of the House, how bad it would be. So,
good Lord.
I'm telling you right now, I think your article is great, but if we have a great business environment, people here prosper. Other people see it and want to come here. You don't have to buy them. You don't have to buy one bit. You don't have to cut a check. Now, if a local entity says, hey, we want you to come in, we want to give you a property tax exemption, that's on the local government. That's not on state government. State government shouldn't be in it. But you know what? They don't want to change it because there are people benefiting from us being last. They really are.
Absolutely. And I wish that we as a state could learn that years ago. It seemed like every other day somebody turned out a list that we were at the bottom of. And if we were at the top of a list, it wasn't for anything good.
But, Joe, I've been doing it for 25 years. It's the same. We develop a program to fix the roads called the TIME program. 14, 16 roads. We never fixed all the roads. We don't even maintain them roads. Then we come back 20 years later and go, oh, we need some more money. We need to fix them roads. Well, what did you do the last time we gave you money? Okay? We reached the southern average of being able to pay enough money for higher ed. What do? We had another one. Well, here's another thing. Our economy can't support the government growing 2 and 3 times the economy. That's where we're at now. We've had migration problem going on here since the 70s and 80s. Still going on. So if we're going to address budget problems the same way we've always addressed them, how in the hell can we expect different answers, different outcomes? You can't.
It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Well,
and we haven't. We are insane. Our state government has been absolutely insane. And to its credit, the House has gotten better, but the Senate is just continuing to spiral out of control. A bunch of Democrats with R's behind their name keep getting reelected. We don't know better.
Well, but it's our fault because we keep thinking if you put a Republican by a name, all of a sudden there's something great about them. Hey, Joe, where can people find your story?
You can find today's story at Hayride.com, and you can also find anything else right there and at redstate.com.
All right. Joe Cunningham. Joe, we'll do it again. God bless. Thank you. Great article.
Thank you, Moon. Have a good one.
All right, I am. I have a good one every day. We'll be right back, despite what Brandon says about me. We'll be right back. Bad dude. How y'all all? Welcome. You notice I say that with a laugh.
Oh, man.
Man,
I love how that song plays in the home stretch of the show.
Tell you what, my daddy's greatest, God bless him, greatest gift, one of the greatest gifts he's ever given me is to learn to laugh at myself. I'm telling you, that is a gift from God through my dad. And as he told me, son, you need to learn to laugh at yourself. And I'm just a little mullet head. Why is that, Dad? Hell, son, everybody else is. And that's how he told me.
Yeah.
And I looked at him like, huh? He said, well, what I mean by
yeah.
If you'd have known that, Brad, you'd have think I was probably not much personality. It's like when you come to my house, everybody thinks I talk all the time, and I really don't. And you come to my house and sit down in my house, and Maddie and my bride's there, and I walk her. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, you'll think I don't have a voice. Them cats can roll, man. They can just roll. You got to go get my wife. Baby, we left 10 minutes ago. We've been sitting in the car. Who you talking to? I don't know. These nice people started talking to me, and I noticed their shoes or something.
Yeah.
And look, you'd be 10 minutes sitting in the car, Brandon. My wife's off today. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
She could easily be listening. By the way, it's not a cut. They just personable people, and they don't mind talking.
Good save, Moon. Good save.
Thank you. They really are. Obama administration official who helped anti-Trump dossier author was executive at lobbying firm for Russians who bought the Uranium One. The people they ought to be investigating is Obama and the Clintons. It's just over and over again. Jonathan Weiner, the Obama State Department official, acknowledged regularly interfacing with the author of a controversial, largely discredited 35-page anti-Trump dossier, served as senior vice president of a firm that did lobbying work for Tenex, the U.S. subsidiary of in Russia, the state corporation headquartered in Moscow. Purchase controlling Uranium One. I'm telling you, folks, why is the swamp not in? I'm so disappointed in Jeff Sessions. I'm telling y'all, the collusion is Democrats and Republicans, no doubt. I mean, Democrats and the Russians, no doubt about it. It's sad to pick up and read this stuff on a daily basis. All right, I appreciate Joe Cunningham speaking with you. You know, he's right. If you made, and I've been talking about a lot of things today, but making the state a friendly business state is 100% the key to changing the state. 100% to changing the state. Folks, we down there fighting over the same things we were fighting in the 1970s. If you don't remember Edwin Edwards had a gigantic tax increase on the ballot. I mean, they passed $700 million. And, you know, we had tax increases under Mike Foster called Stelly. It didn't fix anything. We had the time program where we added taxes for roads and they never fixed the roads. We buy businesses, and some of them do well and some of them go out of business. We spend our money buying businesses because we're not a friendly business state. We don't fix the economy, so we don't fix our migration. Fixing the economy really is about doing something and then the government inaction getting out the way. They won't set the rules up where it's so friendly to businesses, it's ridiculous. Yeah, there you go, Griffon. You're trying to help the rich. Like I'm a business owner and I'm far from rich. It's just, that's the way you have to do it. You have to do something different. My good friend Lyle Miller says it all the time. He said, you have to do something that seems radical to the people, but it's really a good thing to change the direction of the state of Louisiana. We have nobody trying to change the state of Louisiana, the direction. The co-governorship of Jay Darden and Bill Edwards, and trust me, Jay Darden is running this state and he got 15% of the votes. They're not trying to change the direction of the state of Louisiana. They're trying to change the direction of their state of re-election. Somebody just said to me, rest assured, your wife isn't listening. She's not going to voluntarily listen when she can actually turn your boob off. By the way, another one says true. And then here's another one. Beg to differ. That's friends with me and Tanya. You know, it's just phenomenal, you people. And this one here, her name starts with Kathy and ends with Fuqua. All right. It's what has to happen. Bill Edwards is happy to be the governor. Jay Darden's happy to be co-governor. Jay Darden was rejected soundly as being governor. He should never have been anywhere near, and he got elected governor because he knifed Vitter. His ship came in at $237,500 a year. His retirement after this year would be over $200,000 a year. All he had to do was knife Vitter, and his ship was already built coming in, and it did come in. I know some people get so mad when I say that, especially people that love Jay Darden, but it's true. It doesn't change it from being the truth. So, folks, you're not going to change it by doing the same thing. What the Black Caucus wants to do, what Edwards and Darden want to do, what John Alario wants to do, is basically just get money out of your pocket and go home, cut deals with their buddies, get their family members more jobs and better pay, and go home. That's all they've done. Alario's been there, folks. When he finishes 48 years in the legislature, guess what? He's going to run back in the House. I guess he'll be the Speaker of the House. Francis Thompson, 44 years after this year, he's running back in the House. I heard there's an opportunity. Big Lake Fannin may go home. I just wish he'd have went home 20 years ago. Phone lines. I know. Brian said, he ain't even giving out the phone number. Let's go to Mike on the road. Mike, how you doing?
Good. I just wanted to, I did a little research, and I found out that the public employee, that's politicians, state workers, everybody, they are exempt from Louisiana. Their retirement income is exempt from state income tax.
No, they pay. So that's why they pay state income tax. Trust me on that.
Well, you need to look it up.
I'm telling you right now, if one state employee calls in, they pay state income tax.
I'm talking about their retirement. The retirement income.
Well, I know. Let me throw something else at. I'm just throwing this at you now. Okay, don't get mad at me. I'm playing a little devil's advocate. They also don't qualify for Social Security. Their retirement. They're retired. If I'm wrong, I hope somebody corrects me. I don't think they qualify for Social Security, or at least full Social Security like you and me would. They may get some, but they may not get it all. Where me and you are going to get all of ours.
So you're saying that Darden, who's going to get $240-something thousand a year retirement income, if he'd be on Social Security, that's what he'd get? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying Jay Darden will get from the state I think, over $200,000 the rest of his life. He never made over $115,000 from state government. But when Bill Edwards, when he knifed Vitter, his ship was in. I told y'all this would happen. When it was over, he knifed Vitter. I told y'all he would be the administrator, and he had become that. I made that prediction right after he knifed Vitter, and right after they started going after him, and he became that, and his ship came in. He's going. I think with 30-something years, maybe somebody can correct me, I think he'll get close to 90%. I think he'll be $200,000 for the rest of his life.
Okay, if that's okay if that's the case. If he gets, let's just say $200,000, he pays no state income tax on that. But if a guy who worked for Enron or a Chevron or whoever gets $200,000, he gets Social Security, but his pension from Chevron is $200,000. He pays state income tax on that. So you think that's fair?
Well, no, I never said it was fair. I'm just telling you it's something to do with Social Security and the way it's paid out.
But that's why all them big boys don't care about the state income tax, because when they retire, they don't pay nothing.
Yeah. Well, listen,
and the most you can get with Social Security is not even $3,000 a month right now.
Yeah.
However you slice it and dice it.
Yeah.
So it's not fair.
Well, let me tell you what, the state retirement system is awesome for people that are in it. Absolutely awesome. I got family members I know it's in it. It's an awesome thing. Jay Darden's ship came in when he knifed Vitter. That's all you got to know. And Jay is part of the problem, but to the Baton Rouge press, they think he's some kind of god and some kind of extra important person. But let me tell you something. I'm watching it happen again. 25 years from Edwards to Edwards. They're not changing anything. They're just trying to see how much money they can get out of the taxpayer's pocket. End of conversation. Got to go anyway. That's why it's the end of conversation. See you tomorrow, Hump Day, folks.